Hey rockers, welcome back to Bloody F Mess Official on this very cold, very rainy late night, early morning here in Southern Oregon. Yeah, it's pouring out there, man. And I got my Ray Charles specs on. Did I say Ray Charles specs? Yeah, I'm not making fun of Ray Charles. I love the guy, but these glasses are a little bit crazy, a little bit too much. Perfect for me. You know how I got these glasses, man? I was over in Grants Pass, Oregon, looking at the sunglasses section. Some girl started a conversation with me about a year or two ago, and we started talking, and I had her laughing, and we were talking about rock and roll and sunglasses, and she said, "Hey man, you seem like a cool dude. Go ahead and pick out whatever pair you want. It's on me." I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "I want these, man. These are just too much. I love these things." So she bought them for me, man, and that's how I got these Ray Charles specs. But I do love them, man. I will have to take them off a little bit in a bit because I got some notes on paper that has like really small print. Look at this, man. I can't even read it at all hardly, but I'll get through it. In the meantime, Ray Charles it is. Hey, man, rest in peace, Ray Charles. Georgia, Georgia. Love that guy, man. Right, man. I've got ADHD. My name is Bloody F Mess, and I'm here to say this is my attempt to center myself before I get started. Tonight, we're going to talk about Beautiful Bert. For those of you that are into punk rock, you'll love this. It's about a legend. It's about a guy that I knew dearly as a friend and at times an enemy. But in the end, we made up. Yeah, Beautiful Bert and I went back a long way. He was a rocker that was notorious from Kenosha, Wisconsin, originally from Racine, Wisconsin, which I'll get into that in a minute. I first met him when my band Bloody Mess and Hate played in Kenosha, Wisconsin in June of 1985, but we played also in July of 85. So one of those 2 months is when I first met Bert. I don't remember meeting him in June, but I think I did. Might have been July. It was at a place called Duke's 2. It was like a biker bar, and the guy that owned it didn't like punk rock, but the punk rock show sold a lot of beer. So he put up with punk rock, and he booked stuff like me, Bloody Mess and Hate, and bands like 1096 and US Distress and the Charming Deviants. And there were so many good bands from Kenosha, man, over the years. And Beautiful Bert, just a couple of years after I met him, maybe a few years, started his bands going. I don't know if he had bands previously before that or not. Maybe he might have. I don't know. But after that, a few years after 85, I do remember Bert started really rocking and had a nice succession of bands like the BB Slags, the Crotch Crickets, the Lipstick Junkies, the Luscious Ones. He did one killer album on Beer City Records, which, man, one of my favorite punk rock and roll, trashy, sleaze, glam rock street records of all time. I'm not kidding. Beautiful Bert and the Luscious Ones. For those of you that are uninitiated, you're learning something today, and I'm trying to teach you from the pulpit of my Church of Rock. And here I am. And for those of you that already know, you might learn something new today about Bert. Me and Bert got along pretty well. There was many times where I got stuck with Bert, like the time that Dean Dirt from 1096 decided to go on a drug run, but didn't tell me because he was, well, trying to keep me from those kind of drugs, which came into my life later. But he dropped me off at Bert's house and said, "Hey, man, hang on at Bert's for a while. I'm going to do some errands." I thought, cool, I love Bert. Let's hang out. So I went to Bert's not knowing that Dean wouldn't come back for about 12 or 14 hours. So me and Bert, besides that time, spent so much quality time together over the years. He always would have like a one-room residence that he would rent out in like these, I won't call them flop houses because that's degrading, but these big houses they would rent out and partition out the different rooms as apartments. Very affordable. So Bert was always happy in those situations. He was always cool with his neighbors. Somebody always sold weed in the place. You could just go down the door, knock on a door, buy a joint from somebody, you know. You drink, play rock and roll, no one gave a shit. And Bert would have his little hot plate for cooking. All his walls would be covered in like cool old punk rock posters, like stuff like Sweet and Hanoi Rocks and, Dead Boys, Johnny Thunders. And we would sit around there and just smoke big doobies, drinking beers, checking out the cool posters, eating food, and most of all, laughing and talking about rock and roll. Bert and I were very close, man. In about the year 95, we had a little falling out over some weird stuff. I got involved in the outlaw country music, and Bert just didn't understand it. And then there was a time where he kind of came to Peoria and kind of overstayed his welcome. I had to buy him a ticket home. He got mad at me. A lot of weird stuff transpired. I think at the time it was a lot of egos on both of our parts. We had a lot of fallings out, and then we were friends again. Fallings out, friends again. And then by the year 2003, Beautiful Bert actually recorded a song for the Bloody and the Bastard Children album. That was a tribute put out to yours truly in 2003 on Black and Blue Records. A lot of cool bands from all over the country, only 2 from Illinois, where I'm from. But there was a lot of bands that recorded songs in tribute and in honor of me, and I'll always be grateful, even to those people that don't like my ass. I have no grudges, man. Life goes on. Go with the flow. Forgiveness. So, Beautiful Bert and I, the last time we saw each other, I've documented on this channel elsewhere, but it was in Milwaukee. My band, Bloody Mess and the Transfusions, was performing. Out of the blue, you know, Milwaukee's like an hour and some plus time from Kenosha. Bert somehow managed to get up to Milwaukee, found out I was playing, came up to see me. He walked in the front door knowing we weren't getting along, holding a joint. And he walked up, he goes, "Man, I bring this in peace." And I said, "Let's go smoke up, big buddy." And there was no questions or talk about why we had a falling out. We were just friends again. That night we went to a big party, had a great time sitting on this couch, him and I, my wife Tracy and Bert. We talked for hours. Everybody was wasted all around us. Bert was just out of his mind, drunk and high. And he said, "Here, man, Tracy, can you hold my wallet so I don't lose it tonight?" She did. And then about 2 days later, after we're back home, she finds the wallet in her purse. I had that wallet for the longest time. And then Bert ended up passing away about 6 months after that. And we ended up giving the wallet to a guy that has an archive of collectible Kenosha, Wisconsin punk rock. It might as well be a damn museum. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't feel right keeping it. I sent the whole thing to my buddy. That's it. No names, just letting you know it's in safe hands. And anyway, there's some information about Bert. Now, Bert was a very eccentric guy. He was very big-hearted, loving, had a killer sense of humor, but he could also be a grouchy guy sometimes that could be, you know, could be mean if he wanted to be, but not mean, but just pissy, you know what I'm saying? But he was a very large man that would sometimes get up to be around 400 pounds. Other times he would lose his weight. It was an ongoing battle with poor Bert, but he also kind of embraced it. And he, despite his weight and despite what he, you know, his own self-image, when he went on stage, man, he had his blonde hair, his feather boas. He didn't give a crap. He might as well have been Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks because he had self-confidence for days. And his records, killer, dude. Like the 7-inch records he put out with his bands and that album I told you about. It is just phenomenal stuff. He had a lot of confidence, a terrific rock and roll voice, mega stage presence, of course. Anywhere he went, you couldn't miss Bert. Once I even saw him in the crowd at a Gigi Allen show in Chicago at Medusa's, and Bert kind of stole the show for a couple minutes. Even Gigi was watching the guy on stage like, this guy's naked on the floor doing unmentionables with the microphone stand, and people are watching him and not Gigi for a minute. That was pretty intense. But yeah. So when I met Bert, we started a friendship that lasted up until his death. All I can say is I'm so grateful that we were able to make up. I know there's a lot of people out there in Wisconsin that still think me and Bert weren't friends when he died, but we were. So let go of that crap, you guys. There's nothing but good vibes from me to Bert and to all of Kenosha here. Well, except maybe one guy in Kenosha. I won't name his name, though. Not giving that dude any publicity. So, Beautiful Bert, man. I don't even know where to start anymore. I'm just going into these tales because I know you guys might be fascinated. I want to show you something. When Beautiful Bert passed away, he was given a beautiful tombstone, man. Of course, he died February 24th, 2008. Check out this guy's tombstone, man. Look at that, man. The legend. That stands for Kenosha Punk Hardcore. That's an actual photo from the cemetery there in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And wow, where do I begin? I made some notes, big time. I had to. I'd like to start by reading you his obituary, part of it. I won't go into the part about all his family members' names. Brian Scott Bert Phillips passed away unexpectedly on Sunday, February 24th, 2008 at his residence. He was born in Racine, Wisconsin, June 13th, 1959, to Arthur and Matilda Phillips. Or is it Mathilda? He attended William Horlick High School and was a well-known vocalist, performing with bands in Kenosha and Racine. He was loved and will be dearly missed by area musicians, bandmates, and his fans, too many to question. And there was more about his family and who preceded him in death and things like that. Make no mistake, Beautiful Bert has fans all over the world, man. The dude's played in all kinds of the states in America. His records went across the borders. I get messages from people in like all kinds of countries asking me to talk more about this mysterious rock figure. The thing about people like Bert and me and different bands, we just should have stayed in the van longer, man. Like bands like Black Flag and Fang and just so many bands I can think of that are able to play festivals and go play clubs regularly because they stayed in the van for a few more years, crisscrossing the United States, up and down, left to right, south to west, north to east. And that's what they did year after year. And, the Misfits, Henry Rollins, Glenn Danzig. And these guys were able to cultivate a living out of that later because they were dedicated. We were a little bit too much into the drugs and alcohol and just being slags, man. Like Bert's band, the BB Slags. We would just get wasted, and we should have been paying more attention to the future, but we didn't know. We didn't know that this stuff would be remembered and fondly remembered later. Remember, when punk first came out, we were all just a bunch of black sheep being told that our music sucked and that, we're not going to play this kind of music on American radio. Now, in England, if you were in a band, a punk rock band, and it was a good tune, you could get right on the charts and make a living, like Sham 69. So many bands in England that had their UK subs, bands like that make a living still from punk rock. In the States, they didn't do that here. They played a lot of the borderline new wave stuff, but punk rock was never accepted in America, and it was never played on the radio, except for exceptions like the Ramones, not very many other bands. Later on, Green Day. But that's after punk became acceptable and mainstream, kinda, right? God damn, even these days, death metal is considered normal. I was watching a freaking, one of those contests like, that Simon Cowell or whatever would be on. And it was a show from Brazil, maybe. And there was this beautiful model up there with a band. This chick's gorgeous, right? And all of a sudden, the voice that came out of this girl's body was like, Steve-O from Impetigo, like just death metal, like satanic as all get out too. I gotta tell you, man, the song was Gorgon. I almost want to think that's a Venom or another band covering. That's a band that they were covering. Who did the song Gorgon? I could look it up, but I'm not gonna. You tell me in the comments below if you remember which metal band did Gorgon. And please subscribe to my channel if you would, and leave a comment below and like the video for me. It helps an old rocker make a few pennies. Please help me. I need your help. Please. I'll even take off the Ray Charles specs for 10 seconds. 9, 8, Anyway, my friends, that's part of the obituary. The memorial visitation for Bert, which I proudly attended with Sister Tracy, was at the Storino Funeral Home on Saturday, March 1st, 2008, from 2 to 4 p.m. A lot of people there. Matter of fact, I think it was so packed, people were having a hard time, sitting. It was, packed. The whole little building was freaking packed. He had a lot of love. There was people outside the doors that couldn't get in, if I remember correctly. Tracy and I had a seat up front. It was a very somber. People were sad, man. It was people were shocked. The void was immediately there, and I still remember feeling weird vibes. A mixture of a lot of love and a lot of people thinking, "F you, bloody." We know, you and Bert weren't even friends. We were though. We made up, man. So I hope people get that about me and Bert. It was a complex relationship, but we had way more good times than bad, that's for sure. Although even the bad times were funny. We would fight, but never physically. We'd always dare each other. Come on, punch me, I'll punch you, I'll get you. But it never happened because we loved each other, man. We just knew that, we had to get through it, and we did. And I do thank Bert and his bands for all the abuse they put up with from me over the years. There was times that guy would go on stage, and I remember once, you guys are going to hate me. I walked up on stage. Well, actually, we performed. Bert was super late getting there. I was really mad. We arrived in town, and normally he would be there waiting for me at the bar. Didn't show. 2 hours later, I finally get a hold of him on the phone. I'm like, what's your deal? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm in town, bro. No one's even here to say hi or welcome us. Unlike the old days where Dean Dirt would roll out the red carpet, but Dean Dirt had passed away at this point, sadly. So me and Bert had a falling out at that show. I don't even want to bring this up, but I think when I'm telling stories, I like to just go freeform in it because it's kind of the best stuff, even if it's painful at times. So we're on stage. I think it was the Transfusions and I, right? And I'm really mad at Bert. I'm up there kind of spitting on the stage. I'm spitting beer. I'm, throwing some insults around. Kind of blacked out drunk, to be honest. And then I whipped it out and I pissed on the stage. I'm like, next up, beautiful Bert. And I threw the mic down and there was piss all over. Boy, was Bert madder than hell. Wouldn't you have been? Wouldn't you have probably kicked my ass? But he didn't. Didn't try. Nothing happened. But the bad blood continued after that night. But there's other parts of the story, too, that, I could say about Bert. But I'm not going to talk ill of my brother who's not here anymore. I'm just trying to throw some true tales at you that might be a little humorous, trying to skip some of the negative stuff. There's no reason to reopen a can of worms. I loved Bert, and let that be a testament upon a stack of Chuck Berry records, man. Loved the man dearly. Now I'm going to get into a part of the story that's dark, of course. Remember that story I did recently about my buddy that grave robbed? Back to that topic again. I never thought in a million years I'd be talking about grave robbing again. Check out my Pulp Fiction shirt that I borrowed from Sister Tracy with my cool distractions button. Yeah. Anyway, what did I say about ADHD, OCD? Yeah. Here's what's going to happen, man. I'm going to get closer to the camera because I want to read to you something that I got, and it's pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever even seen this article, but this is what I'm going to be reading from, right? And it's titled, it's from the Daily Kenoshan, and this is from January of 2001. Is that right? How could it be? No, 2007, 2008. Never mind. Pay no attention to that. I don't know what the deal is. Oh, June 15th, 2008. Here we go, guys. Sources have confirmed to the Daily Kenoshan that the grave of Brian Scott Bert Phillips has indeed been robbed of its newly buried rock legend. We spoke with Bert's nephew, Mark Phillips, as well as his close friend, Crystal Hoffman, and were told they have no idea who may have stolen their friend's remains. Brian Scott Bert Phillips, 48, passed away unexpectedly on Sunday, February 24th, 2008, at his residence. Bert had performed in various punk bands all through Kenosha for more than 30 years. He was a notorious figure in the punk scene across the world. He was the lead man and vocalist for the BB Slags, the Luscious One, and others. Luscious Ones and others. God, I smoked a few too many bowls before this video. I'm a little buzzed, my friends. Brian Scott Bert Phillips, 48, passed away. His remains have been buried in a cemetery and ceremony attended by scores of locals, including punks of all ages, just this past Friday the 13th. Interesting. Punk music groups in Kenosha for more than... I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. The print's so small. Pisses me off. I should have made it bigger. That would have been Bert's 49th birthday. The weekend was meant to be a time of celebration of Bert's legacy, with numerous punk bands playing at the residence of a local couple. A pig roast and picnic had been ongoing throughout most of the weekend. I was told by Bert's nephew that the plot was purchased by friends and family's contributions. Money was also contributed in a music benefit show held by friends. I want to say that we performed at that benefit, Bloody Mess and the Transfusions, but I'm not positive about that. God, if you were at that, remind me, did I play there? Maybe not. However, an unknown person spoiled much of the party mood. A caretaker at Green Ridge on Sheridan Road and 63rd Street in Kenosha was making his rounds Saturday morning when he found the gravesite of beautiful Berts to be in obvious disorder. Upon checking the ground, he found that the container holding the remains of Bert had been removed and were nowhere to be found. The Kenosha police have been contacted. Hoffman says that a simple incident report was filed at the station, but she was worried that simply filing a theft report wasn't harsh enough or serious enough. She was worried that the police department may not take this as a serious crime. Per Mark Phillips, Bert's nephew, the family has hired a private investigator to seek leads in order to find Bert's ashes and to get a suspect. The friends and family of Bert are seeking any and all information to find Bert's remains and are considering trying to offer a reward for information. And at the time, they had a phone number that you could call if you had any information about Bert's whereabouts. Where's that picture of his tombstone again? I gotta show it again, man. Yeah, that was my bro, man. He was one of the most real rock and roll dudes ever. You just had to know, like, if you knew Bert, he lived, ate, and breathed rock and roll. I mean, some of his favorite bands were like Sweet. He loved Hanoi Rocks, one of his very favorites. Who else did Bert love so much? I mean, he was just a big Dead Boys, huge New York Dolls fanatic, loved the Johnny Thunders, you know. But he was really into more of the glam, sleazy stuff versus, say, straight-up mohawked punk stuff. But he liked all that, too. And he liked metal. He liked it all. Rock and roll. He liked the band Stars. He was into the old-school good stuff, man. And you really couldn't find many more people more rock and roll than that dude. I promise you that, man. I do believe his family was the people that originated the... Was it lawnmowers, or one of the very famous ones, like John Deere or something? Not John Deere, maybe John Deere tractors. It was something, I think it was a lawnmower, like Lawn Boy. And I think his family, when he was young, was pretty wealthy. And I think when his family passed away, I used to know this story because Bert told me when they passed away, he inherited a lot of money. He could have been set up for a while had he managed it well, but like most of us, he just probably lived and that was it. Eventually, he was gone. But yeah, he came from a trippy family that had, like I say, some really cool invention. If you remember, if you're a friend of Bert and you know that story, people always read the comments in these videos. So, man, leave that stuff below. Drop the comments. Any information any of you have about Bert's life, his private life, the life before he was in bands, his childhood, I'd love to see it come together on this channel. I believe we are all a tribe at this channel. Maybe I'm delusional. But I think we're a tribe of people that kind of found each other. We're all into the same stuff, man. And let's celebrate that. So let's talk more. When this incident happened, I started getting phone calls from Wisconsin because that was like my second home was Kenosha, Wisconsin, right? I lived in Peoria, Illinois, about 4.5 hours away from Kenosha. Spent so many years of my punk rock youth from the age of about 17, 18, 19, all the way up until sometime in the late 90s, I guess. Yeah. And so many people there became my surrogate family and adoptive family. And then, of course, naturally, you're going to make enemies with anywhere that you're, at a long time. So there's a few of those out there, too, that just would rather see me dead than alive. But hey, man, still alive in 2025, motherfuckers. Sorry, not trying to be braggart, boy, but I am still alive in 2025, motherfuckers. I'm such a cheese ball sometimes. Speaking of cheese, Wisconsin's known for cheese. God, I wish I had a big cheese ball right now. The kind they roll around in the pecans or the nuts, almonds, whatever they are. God, those things are good. Anyway, I'm getting a little cheesy now. What happened was I started getting phone calls from people left and right. Bloody, did you hear? What? Because I didn't even have a cell phone at this point, I don't think. I think I had one maybe later in the next year. I got a cell phone in 2008, 2009. But somebody called me and they said, did you hear about Bert? And I go, what do you mean? Bert's been dead or whatever. No. Somebody stole his ashes. I'm like, what? Like, all of them? They're like, well, yeah, dummy, they're in one thing and the whole thing's gone. I'm like, you've got to be crapping me, man. And then the next phone call came. And then the next. And every time I'd get a call from somebody in that great little punk rock town, they would be like, it would be more mysterious. I got a call from Mooney. I got a call from this guy, that guy, all my buddies. Bloody, here's the news. I didn't know what to believe or what to make of it. And then I was told at one point the FBI was involved. I'm like, the FBI involved in some ashes missing? But then I thought, hey, man, we're talking about a rock and roller, man. Bert, he was kind of known. So look, I don't know if that part's true. But I will say this, man. I've had many people call me quietly over the years and say, shh, I think I know who did it. And yep, I was given different names. It's all purely speculative, though. I've never seen any proof. I've actually asked a few people, hey, man, did you do that? And then another whispering that I heard was that whoever did it apparently got his ashes and rolled up a big joint and smoked Bert. You know, Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones did that. When his father died, he rolled up some of his own dad's ashes. Admittedly, you can find this on like YouTube or in the Google. And he smoked his dad. He said it didn't taste very good, something like that. But the rumor was somebody, one or two people, or however many, a mob of people, one person, somebody stole Bert's ashes. Don't know if he was really smoked. I don't know who did it. All I know is that I heard a lot of people say, I think this guy did it. I think this guy did it. I think these two did it. I don't know, man. Do I have a belief? Maybe. But I don't have no concrete proof at all. So my beliefs will stay right here in my own head because it would just me making up a name like you would be making up a name. I don't have any clue who would have had the audacity to get probably hammered, drunk, and go out to the graveyard at who knows when. I mean, what time of day or night was this that it happened, I wonder? Were they intoxicated? Did they plan it? Was it an impulsive thing? Were they just walking through and decided to do it? Did they have tools? I don't know, man. But it's very intriguing that somebody stole Bert's ashes. And we'll never know who did it, man. I wish I could say the names I was given, but it's so speculative, and I would never do that to any of my friends or family in Kenosha. I'll just say one thing, man. I'll never forget beautiful Bert. He was a one-of-a-kind performer. We did many, many shows together. Sometimes he was the headliner. Sometimes I was the headliner. And we always had a blast doing it, man. I remember tripping with him, drinking with him, doing blow with him, smoking with him. We had so much fun over the years. You can go on YouTube and type in Beautiful Bert and the luscious ones, the crotch crickets, the lipstick junkies. You can do a rabbit hole. Gigi Allen played drums for Bert one time at the Odd Rock Cafe in Milwaukee and got arrested. It was an infamous incident. But yeah, you can go on the old YouTube and find a whole lot of videos with Beautiful Bert. You'll be glad you did. I'm glad you came here to check out this story on Sunday night, Monday morning now. Mondays. Well, I don't like Mondays. I don't like Mondays. I really don't, really. Anyway, no particular reason, but I gotta go. I'll be back soon with more punk, rock, metal, outlaw country, curveball, and just plain old impulsive stories that I come up with about 20 minutes before I do them, and then I just throw them on YouTube. It's part of my video series. If you got another minute, I'll say I'm selling some stuff, man. I've got the Bloody Mess in the Scabs t-shirts. I've only got size large and extra large left. Only about 12 of these bad boys remain. I only did 100. Artwork from the first Scabs record from 1989 with artwork by you-know-who. If you want one of these, my email's in the description area of this video and all the videos. It's dmoody41@hotmail.com. D as in dog, the word moody with 41 at Hotmail. Also, my newest album, Dark Days Unfazed, on Fanatic Records on CD and on Bird Eater Entertainment on cassette. These are available at a very inexpensive price. Hit me up at the email. This is probably one of my best albums in my career, according to the reviews. Also, I have the Gigi Allen with Bloody Mess featuring the Scabs 4-track EP. Only 300 of these made. Hand numbered. It's songs we recorded back in 1989 on a 4-track recorder. It's called 4 Sheets to the Wind. There's yours truly, of course. And me and Gigi from the back from 1985. Look at that picture of me with my mohawk. Pathetic lighting, Bloody. You suck. But there's my face showing the utter dismay at the smell that I'm smelling. Gigi didn't use soap very often. Look at his face there. A face only a mother could love. Somebody get that boy a bar of soap. Anyway, if you're interested in any of my swag, hit me up in the email. Thanks so much for watching. I can't believe I did a video that's almost 30 minutes. I hope it was worth the watch, man. Give me your opinion. Long live beautiful Bert and his music. Cheers, man. Om Namah Shivaya.